Hello and welcome to Office Hours Global 2024 Total Solar Eclipse coverage. I'm Bill Davis and I'll be your host along with Alex Lindsay and Matt Wood, as over the next 2 hours we'll be chasing the path of totality from Mazatlan to Montreal and beyond, up out of Mexico across the border near Uvalde, Texas, as the eclipse arcs over the U.S. past Maine and toward its eventual exit of the continental landmass at a little place called Elliston, a tiny incorporated fishing settlement in Newfoundland, Canada. When we started our coverage plans, our concept was just a short string of live reports from our community members lucky enough to live within or travel to points along the totality path, and that will definitely still be a big part of what we're doing today. But Office Hours has always been about building community, and I'm thrilled to report that our coverage community for today has expanded greatly. Instead of just a few locations along the eclipse path, we're delighted to have been able to partner with timeanddate.com and with NASA's spaceflight.com in a pool that gives us access to up to 28 live feeds as the event unfolds. Office Hours members will be hopefully hearing from along the path include Todd Raines coming out of Allen, Texas, Jarrett Keithley from Lakey, Texas, Kyle Hammond from North Little Rock, Arkansas, Aaron Cote from Bufordville, Missouri, and we have a virtual watch party headed by CJ Koval along with Josh Kaufman, Brandon Goodyears, and others in Eaton, Ohio. So then finally, and this I'm pretty excited for, Alan Scott will come in from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And if all goes well, Alan is connected to some type of balloon view. So even if clouds are present, there's a chance we can see the totality from above them. With all those sources and feeds we're sharing from timeanddate.com and from NASA's spaceflight.com, we should be able to present some stunning imagery, provided, of course, that the big wild card, the weather, particularly cloud cover conditions, cooperates along the eclipse path. Essentially, we're tapped into a stunning array of cameras, locations, experts, and Umbra files, which I'm told is one term for people who love to chase eclipse experiences. And speaking of people, right now I want to bring in Matt Woods, who was with the Perth Observatory in Western Australia. It's Australia's oldest observatory, having celebrated 125 years of continuous operation. And Matt's going to be our very special expert guide to all things eclipse. Welcome, Matt. It's so great to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I really looking forward to this.
You're up early. I understand it's the middle of the night there. What are you expecting today?
Well, 2 a.m. at the moment, so hopefully I think I can hang in there. I've done a couple of these long nights, so as an astronomer, nothing ever happens at a reasonable time. So yeah, look, I'm pretty sure I can get through the whole night. So yeah, but
most
yeah,
people stay here in the U.S. This isn't your first rodeo, so what's your expectation?
Oh, look, I got to experience my first total solar eclipse last April, so it's coming up to 11 days from now. It's going to be a year, and I've explained it countless times, but actually seeing it for your own eyes is just undescribable, and the feeling that you get is, again, it's amazing, but again, you can't really describe it. You've actually got to go through with it yourself, and but I can tell you the first thing after totality is you think, when's the next one going to happen? So, yeah.
I've heard that over and over again, the emotional connection people have and the surprise they have when they see this. Also with us is Office Hours founder Alex Lindsay, whose vision assembled this incredible tech stack we're using today for our coverage. Alex, how excited are you for today?
Very excited. Yeah, I don't know if my vision did it. I think everyone said, "What was your idea?" And I was like, "That wasn't my idea." Like a whole bunch of people said they wanted to do this, and I was like, "Well, let's get people together and we'll give it a shot." And I think that we've had such a great team over the last 6 months, kind of planning where they're going to go and how they're going to make it work, and we've had great partnerships with Pizzazz, that's Jeff Keithley, who's running the stream here today, as well as VVCR, which is they're basically compiling all these feeds. So I think we have up to 28 feeds that are coming through the system, and that we're mixing with a partnership with Time and Date as well as NASA spaceflight. So there's a lot of feeds going on. There's a lot happening. The weather could have been. I know the weather seems bad, so a lot of people. But let me tell you, I looked at the map. it could have been so much worse. Look at this.
Yeah.
So let me. I don't have an overlay of the actual, but I was looking at the weather here. Now you got to understand that this here, right? That's the line. So there's a little bit there, but it's all going this direction. I feel like a weatherman right now. It's all going up through here. Now coming up here, we got the cloud cover, but look at how it's all moving this direction.
Wow.
So this column just being over top of the entire coverage.
Oh, that would have been a disaster.
Close, because when you see it come through here, I looked at it up, and that's the line of totality. So it's right on that edge, and this isn't even going this way; it's going straight up the same path there. So that's this morning. We do think that some of the places that actually we had planned, that I had looked at going, all look like they may have a little bit of coverage. Colleen was one that I know a lot of folks have been looking at here. Dallas has got a little bit of cloud, so it's going to be hit and miss through here. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to happen, but definitely it's unfortunate that some of the folks on the other side of this are getting a lot of cloud cover. So we're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of coverage we get. There's a lot of people out there. Hopefully they'll enjoy being out there either way. There'll be other things to see. If you don't see the eclipse, you'll see the impact to the environment to some degree. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we see all the way up the thing. But it almost completely got covered. Like it just.
Oh man. Hopefully,
you when you say the worst, that would be very close to the worst.
Some of the areas along us. I was watching some of the other programs as it came on shore at Mazatlan and came up, and I know there's been some disappointment, some other things. We have, let's see, we're going to start down in Texas. We're going to go through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then Maine, and before it leaves the continental U.S. landmass and goes out. I'm sure at some point along this, we're going to get some stunning views because, as Alex was just showing you, along with some areas that have cloud cover, there are a lot of places that do not have as much. Big cities along the way. Dallas is going to be huge. I don't know. Has anybody heard whether or not they're going to have decent skies, or are they going to get socked in?
Hit and miss. They're under soft. They have a little bit of cloud cover. So and this is in Little Rock, Arkansas. So this is through a filter. So here's our feed from North Little Rock. I believe that's Kyle. That's so that you can see it starting to.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent shot.
There. So, but there's your feed, and you will see these continue to pop up. I mean, that may be our first clean feed that we have for that. It's fascinating. We've had the opportunity as we get ready for this to study a lot of what the eclipse looks like. And Matt, please jump in wherever you feel you want to. You're the expert here for us. But I find it fascinating that isn't it true, Matt, that we're the only planet that has this effect where a moon perfectly covers the sun?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So, and about 600 years from now, we won't. 600 million years from now, we won't get a total solar eclipse because the moon is receding away from us every 4 centimeters. But just looking at the weather there, people are now understanding why clouds are astronomers' mortal enemies. Like
absolutely,
they can sense an astronomical event coming. Like we had the total solar eclipse here in Exmouth last year, and the week before there was a cyclone almost tracking directly to Exmouth, and thankfully it went slightly more north, but that meant you had a whole heap of water coming from the northern west of West Australia, and so and that's got to go somewhere, which comes around. Those rivers come snake all the way around below Exmouth. So weather is always going to be a big thing for astronomical events, and I could probably retire at 38 if I had $1 for every time an astronomical event was ruined by cloud.
Man. Oh, that's so
it's one of those things that persistence is key. You will eventually. There are going to be some things like the transit of Venus where you'll get 2 chances every 175 years. But yeah, it's just constantly getting out there, being able to get to change locations if you need to as well. But it is a very special event, and it should be on people's bucket lists.
The other big cities, we have Indianapolis and Cleveland coming up after that. Does anybody have any idea whether those communities are going to get a chance? Those are the big cities. Yeah.
So those definitely look like they're. Let me see if I can find that again. But the here's the actually I found one with a totality path in it. So here's the so this is one I found off of Twitter here, but you can see that we have some pretty thick clouds here.
Yeah,
but
Dallas looks tough.
Once it gets out of Texas, which is funny, everybody went to Texas, right? It's really covered, other than up here, as it goes over the Great Lakes in New York, and so, but it does look like once we get to Little Rock all the way up through Ohio, it looks like fairly clear sailing. So there is a big section here that's going to be very viewable, but unfortunately, it'll be a little bit tighter down here. But again, you never, if you're watching this, and it's going to happen pretty quickly, and you're trying to decide whether you're going to go outside or try to find a place. Never, the other side of what Matt said is never assume that the weather will be the same in 5 minutes from now. So you could easily blow.
And even if you're in Buffalo, you may get an opening temporarily just when it passes over there. It's purely a chance here as to whether
incredible shot there. Did you see the shot? That's we got a shot here.
That's Aaron's shot in Missouri. I'm seeing a really nice one there.
Yep. So that's about 30%. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Yep. So those sunspots are about the size of probably Earth, maybe 1.5 Earths. So they're pretty decent. We're coming up to what's called solar maximum. So this is where the sun has an 11-year cycle. And so back when you had the last eclipse, which was 2017, the sun was near solar minimum. And now we're reaching what's called solar maximum. So
there's a lot more sunspots, and a lot more storms.
And they're a lot closer to they're a lot closer to the equator. And so yes, we get a lot more storms. We had a really big storm hit in the 1st of December, and we actually could see it in Perth, it has to be a really big storm just to be able to.
And what do you say when you see it? What are you seeing? Is it like the Aurora Borealis?
Yeah, yep. We call the southern one is called the Aurora Australis, and they could actually see it with their own eyes. So we had everyone come out of the domes and was looking south, and they could see these peak sheets of cosmic curtains, and it's a good storm if you can get photographs from Perth, but if you can actually see it with your own eyes, that's a really decent storm. So yeah,
I heard that the biggest storm that we have record of is of course the Carrington event in 1859, and they could see the northern lights in Cuba. So and what we we're very happy-go-lucky here, but the sun has a lot of capability of pushing out an enormous amount of energy that hits the Earth.
Yeah, there's actually a painting which I can show you. So this is a painting from of the Aurora from the Carrington event.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was a tropical island that they were taking photos. They painted that from. So in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, it got to as high up as North Queensland, which is almost the entire of West Australia. So they had telegraphs. System was catching fire.
In the United States, the United States, our telegraph system, there were whole stations that were catching fire. And I've been told not to turn this into a CME discussion, but I've been told that it's it'd be pretty serious now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, we would lose power. We would, and not for like a couple of days. We would lose it for a couple of weeks to a couple of months, depending on how long we knew. We're getting good at it, but still, I think we had a couple of years ago. We had a close call with a Carrington size event, and it's one of those things that
was, I think, 2014 was the last close one.
Yeah.
we see, so this is the cover. I think this. Do we know where this one is, Bill? Do we know where this?
Well, I'm seeing Missouri with Aaron, and Todd Allen in Texas is starting to come in, so I'm starting to see feeds appear.
I'm going to guess that Todd's is closer than this one because I think he's only 15 minutes away, right? I mean, I think that.
And Mickey tells me this is currently Aaron, so this is Aaron's shot in Missouri.
So this is what it looks like in Missouri right now. And this is, I don't know if we have Aaron's information about what he's shooting with right now. But this is but we've got a filter over it. So one thing if you're watching again, one thing to know is that you're not going to see this. All you're going to see is the insides of your camera frying if you don't have a filter over it at this moment.
And your eyes. We should make the quick little safety disclaimer here. If you're watching our show or anything else related to the eclipse and you're interested in thinking, oh, I'll just go outside and take a look, unless it is complete totality, please do not do that. This can be very, very damaging if you don't have the correct filter.
All right.
We still have some interface on there, but I think that there's some cloud cover. But you can see that it's a lot further along. And I believe this is Todd Raines outside of Dallas.
Yeah, there's a little dim image there. Good, cool.
So it's getting covered up there, but it does look like we've got some clouds going by. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But again, until the very end, you don't have any idea what's at. You may get 4 minutes of clear sky to make this work. The one thing that we would always tell you if this is your first one is really think about just enjoying it. If we spent a couple months talking about this, and some people have figured out their filters and everything else, but it's an incredible experience, and you want to definitely enjoy it. But we're glad that some folks have taken it.
He's got a filter on right now. When the eclipse reaches totality, he'll be able to pull that filter off, and we might get the sun plus more environmental.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I had friends who were spent months with their rigs, like just getting it all prepared, getting it all automated. So all they had to do was just press the button, and they got to experience it. One of my friends, his camera started taking shots, and just the ball mount just wasn't tightened enough, and the weight just went boom like that. He had other cameras, and thankfully that wasn't the one that he was really hoping for the shots. But again, it's just simple stuff like that. And so yeah, you can plan and plan and plan, but it's always it's you just got to go out and experience it. Like I took the solar filter off the telescope that we were live streaming last year's eclipse, and it just slightly moved the sun slightly out of view, so it took up one of the corners, and I spent what I thought was like 15 seconds trying to get it back into position. And one of my friends is shouting to me, "Matt, you've actually got to experience this." And I was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, I'm underneath the marquee. I can't see it." I race out, and what I think is like for 20, 30 seconds looking up, it's like 5 seconds when I look back at the 360-degree view that one of Stefan from Time and Date, who was helping me live stream, took. So, but again, it's just the magical sight of you see this golden disc, and you see the corona around that golden disc. That's the atmosphere of the sun. We exist in the corona, and you can see little purple prominences. These are plasma caught in giant magnetic fields that you can put a number of Earths within these loops, and it is just an absolute magical sight.
Matt, for our viewers and listeners, what would you suggest they do? Now, if they're in the path and if they're properly protected and they're going to experience it, I've heard people say, don't just look at the sun, also look at the shadows cast around you and listen for the birds and things like that. What are your recommendations for somebody experiencing this for the first time?
The first time I noticed it was I had to go out and do a TV interview about 15 minutes beforehand, and I hadn't been out from underneath the marquee for about probably half an hour. And when I walked out, the first thing I realized was there was no radiant heat. It was about 30 degrees on the day, and we did have a wind, but again, there's just that heat that you feel on the skin. There's nothing. It's still the same fairly brightness. It's slightly dimming, and then you go, wow, this is real. This is happening. And the one thing I was really looking forward to seeing, and I actually had watched the 2017 eclipse on my bed. I had I had a 3D like an Oculus Rift thing, so I could actually watch the 360 degree, and I watched the shadow coming up, and I thought that was so cool. I've got to experience this, and so that was also amazing. Seeing just before it was going to happen, I turned around and I saw the shadow coming from the southwest, and that is just amazing to see. And then, but again, all the birds start. It all just goes silent. The birds start chirping, going, what the hell's going on? You get all the hoots and holloas from, especially if you've got your friends around. We had a whole bunch of my mates there with me, and it's just a magical thing because it's not just looking at it; it's all you're seeing it with all the your different senses as well.
I think we're 14 minutes out. Is that right? I think that 14 minutes is our first hit there, and we've got a couple questions coming in. Michael Marsh in San Anselmo said, "Seeing the early feed from Mazatlan, what are the pink eruptions around the edge of the moon? Is that the corona, Matt?"
So those little pink ones are prominences. So that is gas. So the sun is full of magnetic fields on the surface, and so you're actually seeing magnetic loops from one part of the sun to the other, and there's gas. Plasma being caught and traveling along those magnetic field lines. Now, those magnetic field lines can actually get so twisted that they'll eventually snap and then send that off into space. And so the really big ones, like I can show you. Let me just.
Well, we're pretty close here to our first live shot from Todd Rains in
away.
Allen, Texas. So
later on I can show you. But yeah, it's that is
14 minutes. I think it's
14. Okay.
You check. I think it's the 34 out. I think it's 30. It's 12:40. 12 local time. I think it's 11:34.
Oh, I had 11:22 on my schedule, but that's all right. Let's go ahead.
All right. So this is what. So here is what you're able to see. So this is a prominence on the here, and you can see the actual magnetic field lines. You can see the scale of the Earth next to these. So you can fit a good number of Earths within that area right there as well.
In general, do you have any concept how tall that figure is?
I don't know if someone on the production can share that there. I'm not sure with the screen sharing there. I think I'm not sure if that's coming in or not.
Okay.
You know what I'll do is I'm going to pass yours through. Just 1 second. I can fix that.
Yeah, this is a pretty stunning image and video loop.
I'll cut to it here. 20 minutes Totality. So maybe they can cut to me. There we go. So maybe folks in production there can cut to.
So this, I'm thinking, is from the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which is one of the space telescopes that is constantly monitoring the sun. And so that is magnetic fields there. So that's probably a sunspot. So sunspots massive tears in the surface of the sun. And so that's the Earth compared to there. So you're looking at probably about five Earths high. That's
so tens of thousands of miles tall.
Yeah, yep. And this is what happens when it gets those magnetic field lines snap. That's a huge amount. That's a huge storm being released from the sun. And
that's the thing. And is that a coronal mass ejection? Is that what that?
That's a coronal mass ejection. Yep. And so they release
up radio and everything else here.
Yeah, bits of solar material into space, and they can be often associated with a sunspot or sunspot as well. So, and you don't want that being fired at Earth because that's a lot of work for power station people, people controlling satellites, radio operators, pilots, and all that kind of stuff. You do not want to be dealing with that. So
that messes up communications tremendously, right? The radio signals that you had before just disappear and are hashed out. Is that what I understand?
Yep. Yeah, and like even Yeah, there was even the movie Frequency back in 2000 that kind of uses a way of a solar eclipse um, causing being able for a son to talk to his father back in the 60s. And yeah, it's stretching the
Messing with the
science
time
there,
warp.
but again, it does affect. Yeah. Well, people, if you've got ham radios, you can actually talk to people further away as well. So it is it is an amazing thing. Like our sun is middle of the road. There is, uh, it's not a big star. It's not a small star. Um, it's middle of the road, and the universe likes the Goldilocks rule: not too hot, not too cold, not too big, not too small, not too far away, not too close, not too hot, not too cold, just right. And
Yeah, there
our
we
sun
go.
is just right for us. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
I don't
and this
cosmic
is.
coincidence.
Hmm.
I
And
was
that's what's causing it. That's a sunspot. Yeah, right there.
I'm
So
seeing.
and all those little convection cells.
Oh, there we go. We lost Todd's shot for a little bit, but
The,
now it's
oh,
back. That
yeah.
little orange, highly orange crescent, tiny crescent. So it's still not totality. If you're not filtered, it is still
Mm.
unsafe to look at that, particularly unsafe with glasses, field glasses, or a telescope. But we're getting really close to our first shot directly from office
Totality
hours for
starts
totality.
in still, I think it's not 34, but 40. So still another 15 minutes. So I
Oh,
don't think we're
okay.
right on it. Yeah, it takes a little
Yeah.
while for that to that cover. I think
Yeah.
maximum is
So it's still not totality. If you're not
so.
filtered, it is still
Yeah. So let's
Mm.
if we go back to the now. Sorry, put this up here. The what was I going to ask you there? So and it is interesting. There's nowhere else there's no other place we've seen, right, where the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but exactly 400 times further away. Is that correct? What are the chances?
Yeah, that's right. So the like you talk about cosmic coincidences. This universe seems to be full of them. So yeah, it's 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's
So that
400
makes
times
possible that
closer.
an annular
Like,
eclipse type where you get the ring of fire around because of this similarity between the diameter of the things in the cosmos.
yeah, and that's what's happening is that the moon's orbit around the Earth is not perfectly circular. It's elliptical. And sometimes it's a little bit further away and sometimes it's a little closer. So when it's at its closest point, it's called perigee. And then when it's at its furthest point is when it's at what's called apogee. And so an annual eclipse is where it's at its furthest point to us and it doesn't cover the moon perfectly. So, yeah, whenever you hear the term like supermoon, it's not because it's wearing its underwear on the outside of its costume like Superman. It's it's within 10% of 10% of the to perigee, and it's a full moon or a micro or a new moon. And then when it's a micro moon, it's at its 10% of close to apogee, and that's where it's called and it's a full moon or a new moon. And there's
That's
about a
what's so special about this one.
13% difference.
The one we're
Yeah.
experiencing now is a total eclipse. In other words, there will not be any part of the corona that will be seen when we're at totality. It'll black it out completely, and that's part of why everybody's so excited for this one.
Yeah, and the one, let's see, the one last April was a hybrid eclipse. It started off as an annular eclipse, and as it moved just before it hit Western Australia, it became a total solar eclipse, which meant that was 59 seconds. This is, in Texas and Mexico, they're getting 4 minutes and 28 seconds, and that progressively gets slowly. You lose a second every so often as you move on. Back in 2014, there was the longest one for the 21st century. That was like 6 minutes and 9 seconds. So, yeah, we got a teaser. But thankfully, over the next 50 years, West Australia gets 5 total solar eclipses. So it's our time coming up. So
Well, congratulations. What, do you have
Yeah.
plans for how you're gonna experience those? What are you, as somebody who's a professional in this area, what are you looking for, and what are you gonna go do, and what are you excited about for that?
So hopefully I'll be in the north of Western Australia for 2028. So that goes through what's called Karanara, and then it goes through the outback, and then it goes literally down the uh, Parramatta River in Sydney, and then it goes into New Zealand. So I've lived in Sydney for 10 years. It's not great in July for blue skies. So I'm definitely trying to head up north to near Karanara for that one. Then there's 2037, and that's about 4 hours north of Perth in a place called Geraldton. And then there's 2038, which is Onslow, which just was slightly too north for last year. And then there's 2062, which is Albany in Denmark, which is right down the bottom of West Australia. But the one I'm really looking forward to is 2068. It goes directly over Perth and Perth Observatory. So, but yeah, I'm going to be in my 80s, I think, for that one. So, yeah.
Try
Yeah.
to keep the drinking to at least a minimum, or
Yeah, well, look, I don't. I think I've had two cigars in my life. Yeah, and I'm usually the responsible one that drives people home because I live so far out from the city, so yeah,
so you have to start planning. If you're going to be there for that one,
yeah,
you're going to have to start. You now you have goals. You have goals to manage
yeah.
that. But
I
the
love our feeds. We've got Allen, Texas is getting close to totality, and Little Rock is not that far behind, it feels like. We've got a nice shot from Aaron in Missouri. So the things.
Todd Rains, I believe this is what it looks like
Oh,
there.
there he goes. Yeah. That's Todd.
So you can see it's getting dark. It's
Oh,
getting dark, and
yeah.
there's a little bit of clouds, and the sun is almost completely covered. So and we should reach totality in a couple minutes. So maybe just 8 minutes, I think. So
Yeah. And Josh and our group in Ohio are getting some really nice shots as well. So, wow. Things are starting to look really nice on the coming attractions here.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you can see how dark it's getting as well. Yeah, it's bringing back memories.
And that's part of the magic. I mean, it's suddenly you were in broad daylight, and then in just a bit, you're at night for all functional purposes. How
Yeah,
dark does it get in your experience, Matt? Does it come to the point where it's really like a kind of a moonless or cloudless, cloud covered night, or is it
because
a piece of that?
Yeah, because we only got 59 seconds, it was probably more. There was a deep, like almost like the deep blue of my shirt. So actually, this is the shirt I got from the Eclipse. So totality worth it. So is the slogan there. So yeah, so you can see just there it goes. Yeah. So they called it the Ningaloo. So that's how dark it got. I can, if you want, I can show you what it was like. Just get the shot.
And I think that dark shot was
Um,
coming from Aaron Cody for
No,
us.
this is coming from Jarrett Keithley, and
Oh, is
and
that Jarrett's? Okay.
this is this
Nice.
we have hit totality there, but he's shooting what they're
hmm,
seeing because they're not seeing the sun.
yeah,
So and this is in Lakey, I believe Lakey, Texas. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that was the second stop.
I don't know if it's the first stop or second stop. This is not. I'm getting some split moves here because this is. Yeah, I thought he was further north. So
Yeah, I'm
and
seeing
it
Alan shot in.
happens.
Oh, go ahead.
Alice, which I thought was our first hit,
Hmm.
is scheduled for 140. So but yeah, we're moving quickly through
It
here.
happens very quickly as well. Like it takes quite a while um, for it to actually start getting dark. It's within that last 10% is where it really starts getting dark. So yeah, I can show you what it would look like from last year if you want.
Yeah, toss it up.
Yep. Yeah. So you can kind of see it did, you still had daytime around the very edges of the event of the location. So it should get a lot darker than that this time. So
Cool,
but it
tiny
is
world shot.
Yeah, yep, that's from Stefan's 360-degree view as well. So I think because it's the next one. That's there. That's our view. So you had people trying to get the ripples from the eclipse on that uh, white paper, white blanket there. Um,
And is
in
that
the
a time
middle,
exposure
there's
from a camera or a wide aperture so that it's actually in real life? Would we have seen that much light on the horizon, or would it have been significantly darker?
no. That's what we were saying. That's actually a screenshot from the 360-degree view. So
Nice.
so we that was UWA, the University of Western Australia, in the white marquees there, and then we had two tents there with all our telescopes. So it is just so amazing, and it's always better to experience it with people. Just don't do it on your own. Try and rustle, even if you have to call in favors and debts, or even blackmail people. It's worth it. So yeah.
So it sounds like the community is as much a part of this experience as the natural phenomenon that we're getting to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, and we were kind of secluded away because they had all the telecommunications because we were literally nowhere. They the Telstra, who was the telecommunications main company here in Australia, they actually did a whole heap of work upgrading all the wireless mobile repeaters. They put in new. They made sure all the cabling was working. I can remember we had the first meeting where they said, "Okay, what do you need?" And I said, "Well, I'm literally going to be one computer, one laptop, camera connected to all three. I need just a decent internet, upload speeds." He goes, "Okay, what do you want to do if you had unlimited?" And it's like, "Oh, I didn't actually realize that." And I was like, I'm just thinking, this is my first one. I just wanted a live stream. I just wanted it all to go well. Let's next time let's really start expanding this out. But just for the first one, I don't want to stuff up. So yeah,
Well, I think you can get so tied up in doing things like photograph it and understand it that you don't experience it as much. And from everything that I've heard in all my research, it's the experience that really moves people as
yeah,
much as the understanding.
yeah. Look, I've seen a number of I've live streamed and seen a number of lunar eclipses, and look, it's beautiful, but there's just something about a total solar eclipse. It's just like there was a French astronomer talks about how the difference between an annual eclipse and a total solar eclipse is like being kiss on the cheek compared to a French kiss. That's the difference. So only they could get away with saying that. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So the it is it's definitely, I find that the total eclipses, like partial eclipse, I'm kind of like, okay, like it's, like it compare once you've seen it, all these other eclipses are stuff that we studied the whole time until you actually see a total eclipse and you're actually there, and then you're just like,
yeah.
well, everything else it's fun to do, and I still enjoy covering the other ones or looking at the other ones, but it's yeah,
Well,
it's
behind filters is one thing. To be able to remove all the filtering and just experience this with the naked eye because you're in totality and you know it's safe to watch everything around you, that has to be
tightening up right
powerful.
now. Just to let you know, Todd is going to be,
Hmm,
2 minutes from in Dallas, so that should be,
hmm,
uh, depending on where he is in relationship
yeah,
to Dallas. But so we'll hopefully he'll be able to take his filter off, and hopefully there won't be too many clouds. We can see up in uh, the upper left there is that just that little sliver is all that's left, of the sun, in Texas. We can see it's a little further away in Arkansas. There's a little tiny sliver, and he'll have to take off once we hit totality. We'll see more hopefully, because he'll be able to see it. Now, what they're probably seeing there, and you can correct me, Matt, but I think that if they're there in that last minute is really exciting. We're not going to see it as much here because I think they're going to leave the filter on, but the pearls are going to,
yeah.
the filter on. We'll see those pearls.
You get the diamond ring and then the Bailey's beads, which these little. So you're actually seeing light from the sun traveling through the valleys on the moon. So the moon's not this perfect circular sphere. It's got valleys and it's got mountains and that on the side there, and the last vestiges of light are the sunlight coming through those valleys, which is pretty stunning as well.
We may see only dark. We may see only black, but we're still going to hang with it because I want to see what it looks like when we take the. I know we're told that that's where in Little Rock we need to go. Yeah, there we go. There's not much there. We're going to show you what we see on each one of these, and so this is the what is. Let's see. We should be getting right to it now, because right now we're expecting it at Totality begins in. We should be in it right now. Oh no, we'll be in it in a couple seconds. So once Totality begins, they'll be seeing the beads if there's not any cloud cover there. It sounds like there's a lot of cloud cover, so we may not see much of anything here, but we're going to show it to you anyway. And then let's maybe we can wait and see if they take the filter off there, so that we can see if it'll get a lot brighter once that filter's off. That filter is just about opaque, so hopefully they'll take it off here in a minute or two. We should be in Totality now, but we'll see if they can. See, check here.
There we go. They just unveiled an Allen.
Yep. Here we go. It's very close.
We see some reflections there. So he was a couple seconds behind that, and
we've got some drifting clouds. Hopefully we'll get openings.
It's very dramatic with the clouds there.
There's the pearls right there.
Yeah,
you can see it.
So dark.
Hey, we got
Holy crap, folks. It is so dark.
Come on. Oh, those poor people. Well,
it looks like we're having a little bit of maybe some connectivity issue there. It seemed like it was all there. It shouldn't be quite that dark. I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at there.
Everyone starts using their mobile phones.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that might be it too. If it's a cell service, if it's a cell coverage, it could be just.
Oh, everybody wanted to show their friends.
And they're all on FaceTime right now, and we've lost
here, cloud cover.
FaceTime.
We had it's back in December 2020. We had Jupiter and Saturn in the same for I think the 21st. You could actually see them right next to each other in the eyepiece, and I didn't really go all out and promote it, but we let people know that we were going to be at one of the beaches, and we had 4,000 people turn up. And this is like, you're supposed to be social distancing. There was not a lot of social distancing being done. And I'd gone and tested the live stream a couple of days beforehand, just to show that I could actually, we could use the mobile data, but there were so many people there, it actually brought the network down, and I couldn't stream out to YouTube or any even Facebook. I couldn't live stream Jupiter and Saturn right next to each other. So I just had to record what I could and then put it up, after I got home. So yeah, it's amazing how many mobile, it doesn't take a lot of mobile phones to swamp a mobile phone tower.
We've had this is a perennial problem that we have with event coverage. We're always like, I was brought in one time that someone was doing a tour and they were doing a thing after they had connection problems end over end. I came in and I just brought in a sat truck. It was like this is how we fix cell problems this week. Is we just
looks like our first look at New Brunswick. So that's
just getting started in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yep. Missouri, we've got a feed from Aaron, and that's a little bit of ways. Little Rock and Kyle is next.
Kyle is there. There's Kyle with Little Rock there, and we're starting. It's getting very close. So it's I think we're only a couple minutes away, maybe 10 minutes away. That looks like about. I'm starting to get good at this. I'm looking at it going, and it's 10 minutes.
It's looking like it's leaving Texas now.
We're expecting we're expecting the Totality to be about in about 6 minutes. So Totality should start in about at 151.36 or
It's
so.
amazing how dark it is.
And so he's north of it, so it'll be a little after
North
that.
Little Rock. He was specific about that. So
Little Rock, so it's probably in about another 8 minutes or so we should see it.
Sounds like there's a town rivalry there.
people are interested in
North Little Rock. So
and Arkansas. It's going to go through some mostly small things. I think Little Rock is the biggest city there. I see Morrilton, Pettit, Jean, Hot Springs, Searcy, Jonesboro. So a lot of smaller towns, and then we've got some big ones coming up still.
we have it there. This is in Little Rock. Yeah, go ahead. And the totality, by the way, is still going on in Texas. We just don't see a lot of it. There's a lot of cloud cover there. But the totality there's the clouds. I think we're trying to find it there. But the Little Rock, I mean,
There it is.
There's a special place in hell for those clouds.
That's
exactly.
Oh, that was nice. He opened the iris enough, and now we're seeing at least the clouds drifting across the nearly. It's coming out.
Yeah.
Bit of lens flare there.
So
we'll see if, as we expected, the clouds stay in the southernmost areas that we're going to be taking a look at, and then as we go north, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I've got a sneaking suspicion we're going to have clearer skies as we go.
I think many of the other feeds we're going to be. I think we're going to actually have a pretty clean shot of. I think it was really the Texas, which is, of course, all of us were like, well,
North Little Rock and Kyle. I haven't seen anything flicker on that little edge that we've been able to see with the filter on it so far.
Because telling me that the NASA space flight we might have so we'll whatever we'll keep on pulling these things in here, but they should be happening every couple minutes now as we start to get closer to it. But this is what we're looking at right now is Little Rock. We're due this is due in about 5 minutes. We should reach totality. So we'll see what we see here. And now this one, I don't know where. Maybe
that looks like Allen, Texas again. That's the back end of things as it comes out of totality, and we're seeing a filtered shot of the trailing edge of the eclipse.
You get to see a little bit of both. So you get a little of it's starting to come out on one side, and then we're seeing it arrive and there we go. So you can kind of see these different progressions across the United States. So we see St. Louis on the right. This is the middle one. This is North Little Rock. As we start to as that starts to close out.
And we're getting close to our little triumvirate of folks in Oroville with CJ Covell and Josh and the group there. They're getting pretty near, according to the shot that I can see. They're pretty close to Little Rock, so it won't be too long.
Another question from Tlaloc Lopez Waterman in San Jose. And Tlaloc asks, can you explain more about why the shadow size is unique to Earth and how long has it been a perfect size matched, Matt?
Yeah, so it really just happens to be because the size of our moon. Our moon is actually quite large. It's the now that Pluto's been struck off the planet list, we regain the biggest moon relative to its parent planet. So I know that's a little bit contentious for some people.
I know. I'm still pretty upset about the whole Pluto thing. I feel
yeah.
You're a fan of its planethood.
Why rock the boat? Pluto's been a planet for a long time. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think there should have been some precedent there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, look, there's Mike Brown who discovered Eris. His Twitter handle was Pluto Killer, so he's quite proud of that. And Neil deGrasse Tyson as well. There's a lot of them. Like it's actually quite interesting. Like for 24 hours we had 12 planets, and then they I don't know if anyone likes New Order, but they were going to call themselves the Zimbabwean Witch Doctors, and then the two band members that didn't like the name and were outvoted complained and complained and complained, and that's how you ended up getting the band New Order after Joy Division, and so it was a little bit like that. We had 12 planets for less than 24 hours, and then the people that lost that vote complained, and so they revoted, and we went to 8 planets. And the funny thing is, the geologists have never forgiven the astronomers. They went like, "Who the hell are you? Who the
Should we
hell
have
are
a
you
moment
to
of
decide?"
silence for Pluto?
Yeah.
We could have been.
Yeah.
Speaking of the science stuff, by the way, Matt, I'm interested. I keep seeing this, and it looks very orange. And I remember reading something that you had posted about the blood orange color and why the light, when it travels through the atmosphere, gets its blue light stripped away. Can you tell us a little more about why we see this as such an orangey kind of phenomenon?
Yeah, so you're seeing that those are the types of filter that are being used, and the types of telescopes. So I think some of those look like LUD telescopes, and that will always give you that orange look. So we were using a
Looking, I think this is St. Louis. Is that right? I think this is Aaron's.
yeah.
Yes.
Bufordville, Missouri.
So we were using. So I was using a glass filter, which was cutting like 99.99% of the light, and it was providing me a white sun. Where Stefan had a couple of LUD telescopes, and they were showing a really nice orange color. But as you can see behind me, I've got a photo. I've got a that's a painting by my granddad, who did it from a photo I took of total lunar eclipse. It's also the same reason why the moon looks golden down on the horizon. It's called a process called Raylene scattering. And so what's happening is the light is going from the sun is going through our atmosphere. And for a total solar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse, what's happening is that the light is made up of red, yellow, and blue. And the oxygen particles and nitrogen particles in our atmosphere scatter the blue light. And then what continues on is just red and yellow, which as it hits the moon, turns it blood orange. So the moon has to be in the umbra. So for the inner shadow of the Earth. Awesome.
And this is in Little Rock, North Little Rock.
Yeah, so Little Rock, Kyle's feed.
At the moment.
There you go.
So
there's
Kyle
the corona.
Hammond.
Yeah, there you can see.
Nice.
Mm.
There we go.
Yeah. And that path of totality is the umbra for the moon. So everything outside of that is the moon is partly in the umbra for the sun is being blocked by the umbra of the moon slightly. So yeah,
and
but
that little
yeah,
bright
and we're
spot
seeing
that
a
I'm
little-
kind of seeing on the bottom of that shot, is that part of this sun through the valleys experience, the Bailey's Beast kind of thing we're talking about, or is that something else?
That's probably actually the prominences. By now, the moon's completely being covered, the sun. But you're actually seeing the atmosphere of the sun, and we've only been able to see this the last few decades without the need for a total solar eclipse. So if you wanted, before probably the 70s with Skylab, you needed to actually have a total solar eclipse to study the actual atmosphere of the sun.
And this is now again also the thing to realize when you're looking at this is that we're exposed for that at the moment, and there's a little bit of you'll see a little bit of glow there on the inside. When you're actually watching this, you don't see any of that glow that you see over the black right now. It is just jet black, and it is the thing that, and right now this is kind of exposed. It's exposed for the stream, but when you're there with your eyes, and I think that Matt can underline it, but you see the sky that's out there. You just see a hole in the sky. Like it is like that black is the blackest black you've ever seen. and it's surrounded by sky. And you can still see the sky, and there's this black. We're just exposed for the corona right now, and so you don't see really anything else. But you normally would see that hole, just like a hole in the sky. There's a hole in the sky for.
We're also seeing the same shot from Oroville from Josh and those folks. I wonder if we have any connection with the team there.
There's the diamond ring
Oh,
again.
There we go. Look at
Yeah,
that.
so that's
Beautiful.
Better start getting the solar filter back on.
Red one. Like we're all rooting for him. We're all rooting for you. Don't keep pointing that at the sun. It's so good.
But you see stars, you see planets, and like in 1919 and 1922, there were total solar eclipses where there were astronomers going to around the world to try and prove Einstein's theory of general relativity, that space and time are the one thing, and they can actually be warped, and time can be slowed down. And in 1922, there was astronomers from around Australia and from the US, India, UK. They all went to a cattle station called Wallal, about about 12 hours south of a town called Broome, up in the northwest. And they'd taken glass plates of that part of the sky where the sun was going to be a couple of months beforehand, and then they went there. And the reason they went there was because in the 20 years previously, it had only rained twice in September, and so it was pretty. They were going to get good conditions there, and they were taking glass plates of the stars around the sun, and they were the sun's gravity, the sun's mass causes space and time to be warped, which gives you gravity, and it actually bends the light. So we need that. We needed to know that. If we use GPS, the satellites there experience time faster than for us down here on the Earth. So we need to equate for that. So that's how important eclipses are.
Yeah, we were I was looking last night. I was watching a video about the fact that I guess in 1973 they took a Concorde and flew it
Yeah.
in totality for 75 minutes, and they had to hit the junction within a couple seconds. Like they hit it plus or minus like 1 second, I think. They had to be right in the right place at the right time. And it was the only commercial plane, publicly commercial plane that could go that fast. At the time, an SR-71 could do it, but not very many other planes could go fast enough to keep up with the totality. So they were able to, and then they had all kinds of for science.
Yeah. And like the CIA isn't going to be landing an A-12, or the US Air Force isn't going to land an SR-71. No, that's.
As far as we know, they sent one over there just for fun, because we didn't even know the SR-71 officially existed until the 80s, and so it was but the Concorde was able to they kind of rebuilt it a little bit. Now we're getting very, very close in we're now if you look at the feed right now, you can see it's starting to appear again in Little Rock, and that's a different one there. That's a little further ahead. But we were in St. Louis there for a second. I
think that's New Brunswick. So
you're seeing that a little bit, but I think that hopefully we'll jump to back to Burfordville, which is where Burfordville, I think, is where we're about to reach another totality.
We are getting close to our watch party group headed by CJ and those folks. I think we got a little of that from before, but I was hoping we could see our team and talk to them a little bit and get a kind of person on site experience camera to let some of our teams of coverage.
Totality. Whoop, there goes the totality. Now what they did, they just took the filter off there. Exposure hopefully a little bit, but you're seeing this is closer to what you see there, which is that it's just black on the inside there. Hopefully they'll bring it down a little bit. It's exposed pretty brightly there, but that gives you.
Thank you, Aaron, for the image. That's Aaron Cody coming to us from Burford.
See how dark that black gets when you're zoomed in on it, and you can just it's an incredible, like it is just the blackest black that's there. It's an incredible sight. Now this is very close up. I don't know. I think that he's probably using my guess is when we were getting that close, we were, I think, on a 400 millimeter lens. So it's not like it has to be a giant telescope to get that shot. But we'll find out what he has there.
That's beautiful. And he'll have, 4 minutes and some seconds of totality before it slips out the other side.
Yeah. So, but it's just incredible when you're looking at this, seeing that that incredible hole again in the sky.
Yeah.
There's a hole in the sky that you're looking up at, and I find that to be, and I think that that's the thing that really affects people, is that
You can see why ancient cultures just literally kind of lost it. It was something they depended on every day. Suddenly, this kind of thing would happen, and
we're talking in the last show that there was some kind of battle, a war going on, and when they saw this in the middle of one of the battles, they were like, maybe we should stop fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the gods are not happy with what we're doing down here. They've turned out the lights.
Yeah, a lot of those ancient cultures saw them as like, the sun and moon played a big part of their lives. They used it for timekeeping. They used it for a calendar
Absolutely.
system, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, for most of these cultures, it was seen as a doom or a bad omen or something was going to happen. So, like again, comets were always seen as doom bringers. If you have a look at the biotapestry of William the Conqueror coming over from Normandy and defeating King Harold in England, the last time England was conquered back in 1066, there is Comet Halley in the biotapestry. So there's a lot of these celestial, even like in the indigenous cultures here, auroras were seen as either bushfires in heaven or there was wars in heaven as well. So
agricultural, economies, your seasons and sunshine length and the rest of that is life and death. I mean, you're going to either be able to grow your food and survive or not. So this must have totally freaked people out. What's happened? Has our sun gone out?
Well, even was it Christopher Columbus managed to save his bacon because they looked like they were going. I think there'd been some mistreatment from some of his troops, or they didn't believe him, and so he said, "Look, they'd worked out there was going to be an eclipse at the next day," and he said, "Look, there's going to be another eclipse the next day," and it happened, and they believed him, and he got out of there with his life. So yeah. So it's
kids studying astronomy can be a really big life skill.
And we're seeing these striations, and those striations are that's coming from the sun, right? So when we look at this,
so you're getting streams of particles coming off the sun.
Here is I don't know if they're going to cut to that or not, but we'll see. But I kind of copied them so that I can draw over top of it. We have to figure out how to do that more often.
So there's a constant stream of what's called charged particles and plasma coming off the sun. It's called a solar wind, and it's really amazing how, the whole story of how that actually came to be, because it can travel anywhere between 300 to 800 kilometers per second. It takes about 3 days to get from the sun to the earth, and it reaches millions of degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. And it's actually the solar wind is actually what causes comet tails to always point away from the sun. But it was discovered. There was a German astronomer by the name of Ludwig Biermann who'd predicted that there was this existence of a solar wind back in 1947. He just dubbed it the solar corpuscular radiation. And then there was the British astronomer by the name of Sidney Chapman, who was eager to attack him and stated that the sun was 330 million times more massive than the Earth, and said that there was no particle that could escape its gravitational pull. And he proposed that the sun's corona actually existed beyond the surface, beyond what we could just see. And it was Eugene Parker, who was a grad student at the time, and he was the one who he talked to both of them, and what realized that what actually was what could be considered exclusive ideas could actually become one, that you could have a corona that's much bigger than it is that we can see, and that you could have this solar wind. And he put this out, and they said, "Oh, no, doesn't exist. That's not going to happen whatsoever." And
I'm seeing a variety of shots here, and I'm wondering what we're looking for. Oh, there we go.
It's Cleveland, or this is not Cleveland, but this is I think outside of Columbus, Ohio. What we're seeing right now. or Matt.
Yeah,
So
Matt, you appear to have been muted. It doesn't look like it's on Zoom, so it might be local to you.
yeah.
And that's the team with CJ, right?
Okay.
Excellent. It looks like they've got multiple camera shots for us, and we'll get a chance to see one of our teams in operation here in just a minute. As we continue through this, thank you all for paying attention and watching with us on Office Hours today. Are you back, Matt? Oops.
Cool.
Looks like
I think I'm back.
there you are. You're back. Great.
Yep.
Good to see you return.
Sorry. I just had my headphones die on me. So,
Oh, at least once in every show, something like that takes
Yeah.
place. We're about to head out to CJ and the rest of the team because we got a bunch of stuff happening out there. I just lost a look at that. We had a really nice shot.
I think that they're cutting away there. So yeah, but the
Oroville. Looks like they're, yeah.
shots there from, or where is, because these
Ooh,
are all.
look
A second.
By the way, our partners in timeanddate.com have some really gorgeous shots that you can go back and take a look at after this event.
A new one. What do we have here? Do we know what this one is?
I'm seeing, oh, no, I'm not. Yeah.
This is further up, so we know that it's north of what we just saw. Let's see here. We don't have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the feeds are coming in from. The labels here aren't exactly accurate, but still gorgeous imagery. I love that little arc. The Cosmic Designer.
This is from Eaton. I don't know. This is from Eaton, Ohio? I guess this is. It seems like it's a little further north than we would expect. That's what we have it strapped as, though.
For the,
By the way,
for
just
the
a shout out to our sponsors, or not sponsors, but our partners in this, timeanddate.com and nasaspaceflight.com. We are seeing a bunch of interesting things on our own cameras, and we're trying to mix it with the best from around there.
This 11-year cycle of solar activity. And the short answer is we don't
Now I'm seeing, there we go. Now we've got the time and date coverage. They've been doing a beautiful job. I've seen some, the access they have to really strong telescopes, so you can see some of those coronal mass ejections and other things have been really stunning through the courses. I've been keeping one eye on them. And so it's great to see that we can pull those in.
The 5 minutes of realization that, hey, the next one's in is it America after the last year's one. I realized I was wanting, I could go to Austin, or I could go to Indianapolis, go see Circuit of the Americas, or go see the Indianapolis Raceway as well as experience it. And then I realized, I've got a mortgage.
It can be expensive.
Go there, and then you're like, I can't go there. Yeah, exactly. Well, I almost went to Dallas, right where Todd Raines. I was going to be at Todd Raines' house, so kind of so time consuming. I was like, I can't make it. I'm just gonna be part of enjoying this remotely. So it's
So we're about 4 minutes away from Totality starting in
hit Totality.
Eaton.
I think what we're looking at right now looks like it's happening a lot faster than 4 minutes.
So close, so close.
Which one we're looking at there?
And hopefully, because that's where CJ Covell and the rest of the team, Josh, we've got 2 or 3 people there, and they've got a really nice circumstance. CJ has a new property they're moving into, and he's got a big door open, and they're inside but looking outside. There he goes.
Let's see. Hopefully, they'll reframe it there. Whoop.
Was that the diamond ring view?
We saw it there. I think they lost something there. We lost the feed. This is, the hardest part with all of this is that, here's another shot there. So this is, I think they had a couple cameras. I think one of the things that is the hardest thing is that you get to practice this once. Like,
Right.
like like this is always the problem with coverage is, and one of the reasons we want to do the coverage is so that we could learn it. So like, hey, if we want to do this 2 years from now, the time to start is today, and so the idea is that we were like, we have to go through the trouble. We have to go through figuring out what it's going to take and what the challenges are related to it. So there's a much more close-up shot. And so this is, again, you can see at the bottom there, you can see kind of a, this is an eruption. Is that correct, Matt? This is like
yep. So you can see those. Yep. So that will eventually, those magnetic lines will eventually snap, and
spew.
that will be sent out.
If it spews from the sun, people are always like, does that mean we have 8 minutes to live? And I was like, no, it takes 2 or 3 days before we die. No.
Look, you certainly wouldn't want to be anywhere near that thing. Like, it's very, very hot near the sun. Like
when it snaps, when it snaps, it takes 2 or 3 days to get to the Earth, right? So like if we're watching this and we see one snap,
about a day and a half. Yeah. So we'll get some forewarning, and there are a number. Yeah. We'll see. So what will happen is you've got there's SOHO, which has been the little satellite, the little space telescope this thing has been going around the sun since 1995. Then there's the Solar Dynamics Observatory. There's also there used to be stereo A and B, and now that would be in the Lagrange point. So one Lagrange point 5 and Lagrange point 4. So these are places where you can stick objects.
That little object at the bottom there, that's probably like 10 Earths high, right? I mean, it's like
5 Earths high. Yep, 10 Earths high around that. Yeah, that's how
incredible.
And
it's a long drive.
Yes. So stereo A and B, we could actually see what was coming around and what was heading away from us. Unfortunately, stereo A, which was the one that was, what we could see coming back around, that one ended up dying. But stereo B is still there. But we can actually see as the storm hits some of those spacecraft, we can we find out how big the storm is. And then it hits the Discover satellite, and it's about half an hour between hitting the Discover satellite and it hitting the Earth. So that's the final, hey, like this is a big one, or it's worth going out and taking photography. But again, it's just making sure you get out of the city and getting to a dark location.
Absolutely.
And persistence. So yeah.
I think that's where we're at right now. And it's slowly moving forward. I when I went there, I did get a tracker. I probably should have sent it to somebody, so we at least have one of the. I just didn't know where to send it. I was like, I don't know who's going to have what. So it's opening it back up again. So that one is going to be finished up. Yeah. So you can get these heads that I've decided, because I'm so excited about what we're doing here, that I'm going to start. I didn't do it because of this other show before this. But I'm in the box. I've got a head that you put underneath your camera, and then you get it going. And once you get it lined up with the sun, it'll hold it in the center the whole time. so those are it's not an insignificant investment. I think mine was about $600 or $700.
None of us got into this hobby of video and media because we thought it was going to be the cheapest thing we could do, and boy, has that turned out to be true.
As with all of these things, nobody does anything because it's easy. They do it because they thought it would be easy. So
that looks like fun.
Miss last words. That'll be fun.
So we're still in Ohio. That should be finishing here at.
This is past Ohio. I mean, I think I'm going to guess this is New Brunswick.
Okay. We're headed toward Pennsylvania, where where the folks in Erie will get our next visit. Totality extends from, 12:16 to 12:20 p.m. with the entire eclipse over by 4:30 p.m. So that's what I have from my notes here.
It is getting, you can notice it's getting quicker and quicker, the totality as well.
Canada. So this is pretty far out.
Okay.
But this is one of our feeds there.
So I'm wondering if Buffalo's getting shut out. That was supposed to be one of the areas where we had a total eclipse. That, and then some areas around Burlington, Vermont. So maybe they're still ahead of us. So we've got a little bit more to cover over here. We hope you're enjoying. our look at the path of totality for the 2024 total eclipse of the sun. And also remember, we've got some questions in our Q&A. Alex, do you want to?
Let me jump back to those Q&As here. So we had another question here from Peter Belbin in Houston, Texas. And Peter asks, spring Texas had rain, clouds, and thunder, so not visible here, but good to see the coverage from other locations. What are the strangest reported consequences of eclipse events that you've heard of?
Ooh, Matt, you've been studying this for a long time. Are there any results that you remember from eclipse history that were really unusual?
Not really, unfortunately.
I don't know why.
Maybe it's fortunate.
I thought that one of them. I thought that one that I thought was interesting was the fact that if you're near near mountains, because they get it before you do, the wind will start to move. So it doesn't always happen, but if something's a little higher up,
that is one thing. That is actually one thing that was noticeable, was that there was, it was actually very windy for most of it, and then all of a sudden the wind died.
Is that landmass heating and cooling as the shadow passes over?
Pushing through it, because it's not all happening at the same time.
And then there was with the shadow, there was a gust of wind, which could possibly just be just coincidence, but it is pretty amazing. So yeah.
Now this is a weird little question, but I come from Arizona originally, and we used to have these dust storms, the haboobs that came through, and when they came through, literally you wouldn't be able to see 2 feet in front of you. Literally, if you were driving, there were all sorts of rules about turn your lights off, because if your tail lights are on and somebody's following you, they won't be able to see until they're right on top of you. They'll run into your car. In a total eclipse, if you're outside of a city with city lights and the rest of that, and you're in a rural area, does it become that kind of dangerously dark where it's best to just hunker down and let it go by?
I always drive with my headlights on, so because it's statistically safer to do that. But again, you would want to be driving with your headlights on, preferably stopping and actually, just pulling over the side of the road and experiencing the eclipse as well. That's one thing. But yeah, like we are living in the country in West Australia, every so often, like I'm surprised it's been very dry the last 3-4 months. I think it's the driest 3 months we've had on record here in West Australia. I'm surprised we haven't had a dust storm like that. Where I lived in Northam for about 5 years, which is an hour out of east of Perth, we would get dust storms like that, and we were living in the south of Northam, and you could see that rumbling in, and it was like being, something like from Mad Max or from The Martian. It just, you couldn't see only.
It's crazy where I grew up. Literally, quite dangerous if you're on the freeway heading somewhere and suddenly you just literally have 0 feet vision. But in this case, because if you're under cloud cover, then the sun's going to disappear for the eclipse, but you're also not going to have starlight or things like that the same way. So, or
you would definitely want. You would definitely want to put your headlights on. It's that dark. Yeah, it's that dark that you would need to have your lights on.
Okay. So if you're somewhere really rural, if you're up in Maine and you're traveling around and this is still yet to get to you, just be aware it's going to get dark if you're right in the path of totality.
Yeah, definitely the strangest thing is just hearing all the animals go quiet.
Now, is it birds first, or do you hear?
Birds first, yeah. You like we had galahs, or they're called pink. They're pink and grey birds. So the nickname for them are pink and greys, and they were they were constantly going throughout the whole day, chatting, and then they go silent, and then totality happens, and they're all up in arms, squawking away. So yeah.
I was watching one of the other shows this morning, and they were in some zoos, and they were saying that a lot of zoo animals, like giraffes and things like that, are highly sensitive to this kind of thing, and they're all looking forward to witnessing the behavior in that circumstance when it passes over. I think the Cleveland Zoo or something like that was one of the locations. So I guess it really has a pretty profound effect on the animal kingdom as well as
human kingdom. Yep.
Absolutely.
Questions here. So another question from Totality Lopez Waterman. He says, "What lenses are giving us these beautiful shots?" And I think that it's a wide variety of lenses. I think a lot of them are, again, zoom lenses have been something that I think a bunch of folks had 100 to 400 lenses that they were using to kind of frame these up. So I think that I don't think we have any telescopes in place. I think they're all zoom lenses that got us there with
So they'd
I
have
think
some
CJ
anywhere.
mentioned that. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
So they'd probably have somewhere between a couple of hundred to a couple of 1,000mm lenses on their cameras there.
Asked me to reframe to the left.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I know when we framed it up, we ended up using a telescope in 2017 for the Nat Geo feed, but when we
perfect. Look at that.
Or we were full on a Super 35, which is like an APS sensor. So
I can show you the setup I had for last year if you want. Yeah, no worries. So this is sitting from my desk. So there's the laptop I'm using currently. It's the web camera I'm using as well. There's the Yeti mic that I'm using as well. So it was very hot that day, so there was a lot of water bottles around, and there's sun protection there. There's my my Ray-Bans.
What was your temperature difference? Did you figure out how much it dropped during the course of Totality?
I think from what I can remember, it dropped like 5 or 7 degrees. It was quite a dramatic drop. Like I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and I'm going, I need my jacket.
Really? Wow.
That's the telescope we were using, that I was using. So we were using a Celestron CPC 1100. Now, didn't really need, if I was just going up there to live stream, I'd probably have something closer to what's on the left hand side. You know, with the sun, you don't need a really big telescope, but we were doing astronomy nights on the way up, and space was at a premium when you're away for 12 days. So so we had we were planning to use a Nikon D810A camera to live stream the Eclipse. That was until I broke the camera, a couple of days beforehand, which was, I just wanted to go off into the bushes and never return. But we were using, yeah. I still remember it, and I just have PTSD moments of seeing it in 2 pieces. But thankfully, one of my teammates, one of the volunteers, or actually she's a colleague, Jody, she brought a Canon Canon 6D Mark III, and so we got on the phone to her husband. He found the T-ring adapter and gave it to Stefan, who was flying in. Thankfully, I did it before he actually flew into Perth, and from time and date. And Jodie's husband Luke gave him the T-ring and came up, and so we're able to slot the camera onto the telescope, and there's just a USB cable being connected to my laptop, and I'm using so I'm using OBS. I was using OBS to send that to time and date, but I was also using a program called Backyard. Well, that one was Backyard EOS, but I normally use Backyard Nikon because I'm using the Nikon camera. So,
so either Canon or
that white stuff on my laptop is dust. It took about 6 months for me to not notice any orange dust coming out of my computer.
I got to that. Here at Office Hours, we have a group of very high-level amateur rocketeers, and we did a thing at Jean Lake, the dry lake bed in Nevada, just about a year ago. And there's still dust in things that I'm uncovering from being out there. I mean, it's great to go out in the wild and find an event like this and be able to cover it. But boy, I learned some lessons about how to keep everything in plastic bags and keep them sealed the whole time I'm out in the field.
Yep, so that was where we were. We were in the middle there's a pretty prominent family in West Australia called the Kalis family, and they're big pearlers, and they have fish markets and that. And so that the government asked if they could borrow their property for for a big party there. And so, that's red dust. That gets into anything. So we had a Honda generator that was powering us. So that thing was well above. That wasn't resting on dust. That we had that put up quite high, so it wasn't ingesting any dust because that's all we had. That there wasn't a backup generator, or we couldn't just plug it into a power socket somewhere near.
No, that's you have to be self-contained and you
Nearby.
have to be
And
ready for
that was the
everything.
team. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that was our little marquees there. So Rochelle, then Jody in the sitting. There's Ted. He's actually gone over to America. The guy with the beard. There's Jacob in front of the behind the telescope. Corin. Ah,
Oh, okay. We've got something
okay,
from New
cool.
York.
Ooh, very
Nice.
close.
That would have to be a recording, wouldn't it? From strap there. There you go. Yeah. I think I saw a shot go by earlier from the balloon in Fredericton, New Brunswick, up in Canada. We mentioned it earlier in the show, but we have both someone on the ground there and also some sort of tethered balloon that there is that the shot? Yeah, I think that's the shot that we're seeing in program. So there's a balloon hovering way above. It looks like it's almost up to the ionosphere or something.
It's hit. Yeah, it's
But
hit a
it's
pocket of
cool.
wind. It's hit the jet stream.
Ah, that's awesome. So that'll be cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing a little label here, New
Yeah,
Russia, New York from Tom. And we're very
and
close
that's
to
that's
Totality
one
in
of the cool
Newport,
things
Vermont.
about having a Yeah. That's one of
Go
the
ahead.
cool things about total solar eclipses is that because there's a lot more area where that happens, you can get shots from the northern hemisphere and from the southern hemisphere. So that's when time and date and I do a live stream of a total lunar eclipse. Most of the time, there's the other places that they getting their feeds from are in the northern hemisphere, and I've got a completely flipped version of what they see because I'm looking at the moon from the other half of the globe, and I'm looking up instead of while they're looking down on the moon. So
That's
you get different
fascinating.
perspectives.
We forget, literally, we're talking to you. You're coming in live to us from the other side of the planet from an incredible distance away. And I'm just always gobsmacked and very appreciative of the fact that we have this interconnected world where we can join with people from literally all around it to do something like we're doing today, which is bringing you a group talking about a global phenomenon. Scientific time. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, actually, that would be actually quite interesting question. That's a really good one. Look, it would probably have to be very similar at least. Maybe when it's first coming in, it seems to be a little bit quicker. But you've got to take into account that Earth is not well. It's
A
not
perfect
flat.
circle, yeah.
It's a spheroid.
Our
It's not-
flat Earth audience is very upsetting now. But it's kind of an
it's a
elliptical
disc.
kind of ball, right?
Yeah, the Earth is a disc on the back of elephants, and then it's just turtles. It's turtles all the way down. Yeah. Um, so it would the moon is moving at a constant speed. It's actually one of the things that's annoying if you've got an old time tracker on your telescope, is that it's just tracking the stars, and the moon actually moves faster. Some of the latest the last telescopes in the last 20 years or so, they can equate for the different speeds. If you say go to the moon, it will track the moon at the moon's rate. So it is a constant. There is a constant speed for the moon, but you do have to take into account that you do live on a globe. It's not flat, so at the beginning it probably will seem that it's moving a little bit faster, and also in that, back in Mexico, they were getting a minute and 28 seconds. You're now getting to the point where you're getting, say, 4 minutes and 25 seconds or so. So that shadow is spending less and less time in these areas as it continues on.
Looks like that crescent that you're seeing right now is coming out of New Brunswick, Alan's shot. We also have, looks like still a feed from the New Russia, New York, Tom's feed, which is getting very close to totality down there. Seeing that at least as a corner of what my display shows. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Another question from Tlaloc Lopez Waterman, and he asks, are any of our feeds on trackers, or are they all framed by hand? I think all of ours are framed by hand. I think we had some folks with trackers, and they were in Texas where we thought we would be able to get good coverage, and then we didn't, because that's where we invested our time and energy. So I think we know that if we do this again, we should have had like 4 trackers evenly dispersed across the entire thing.
Yeah. We got cloud blocked in the early part of our coverage.
Everybody's doing such a great job of covering,
The old Concorde refurbished and just,
I think that would be the key.
Aeronautical platform, so to speak, that could go fast enough to keep
available. Only commercially available. We have planes that can, and we had at least one.
The military, yeah.
At the whole time, the SR-71 would have been able to. I think it can go. The published speeds that it can do, I think could have kept up with the.
And our audience owns a Blackbird. I'm really shocked.
NASA, the funny thing is the timing is off. NASA had, I think, I want to say 2 or 4 of them that they used for atmospheric testing. After they were decommissioned as spy planes, NASA used them, and I think the last one to fly, I think, was 20 years ago. I think though, the last time.
Do service for the first Iraq War,
right?
And then again, they retired it slightly afterwards.
Yeah,
because they realized they needed to get it. There was some things that they could do. It took a while to get those satellites repositioned,
right? Now
where they could easily get.
Is this New Brunswick? I think this is New Brunswick here. That's right on the edge. I think this is our last. I think this is the last one before we lose. This is our last feed.
Yeah, this is where we have both this
Alan
and
Scott.
The balloon shot. We'll see.
Yeah.
Come on. See, if you're going to have a balloon, you're going to have a little Lego man with the broken chin strap as well. Just on the...
We need a balloon that has guidance propellers on it to try to counteract, and somebody has to be driving it remotely.
Have the little flaps at the Super Heavy and the Falcon.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we've switched. I wonder. Let's see. What am I seeing?
I'm not sure if that strap was accurate there.
Is that Missouri shot as that the eclipse leaves the moon? Is that what?
Yeah, that one looks like the eclipse is leaving there. So I think Alan might be restarting. Hopefully he can recenter to the way further over to one side and let it just go all the way across. Hopefully he won't put it back in the center.
Boy, I'm seeing a little sparklies there, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing that
I think this is
correctly.
normally where you need to take it off. So we'll see. Hopefully, I'll take it off here.
There it is. Well, at least from this camera's aperture's point of view, let's see if we unveil the shot and gives us a look at the natural world. I'm seeing that feed from New Russia as well. That's also getting pretty close.
I thought we went through New Russia.
Maybe that's the other side of it. Maybe it's coming back out down there.
Whoa, there we
It
go.
is.
So this is it. And this looks like a
Oh,
little
look
bit of
at the
cloud cover.
clouds.
You can see
Oh, nice.
the clouds moving. There we go.
Ooh. You can see there's prominence there.
There's a big
down
prominence
the
in that
bottom.
lower corner, yeah. I think the clouds add something to it. And this gives you a sense, I think, also as a viewer, of that total blackness that you start to see, where it's just this crazy experience of, and I know I keep on talking about that, but that's what struck me the most, was that you look up and there was just a hole. Like it's just hard to put like how weird that is to look up. It's just something you never see, and it's just like black. You know,
Yeah.
it's really
It's
crazy.
jet black. Yep.
Jet black.
It's that carbon,
It's
almost looks like that carbon black that sucks in all the light and doesn't let any out.
Yeah. So this is this is in New Brunswick, Canada. This is kind of exiting North America. I think this is our last feed, I think that we have access to. And you can see, and what's interesting is each one of these has been a little different. So
they have the apparent. I love this with the clouds. It adds a certain amount of motion, and it gives you just a different feeling than the other ones we've seen, where it's been more a static shot. It's hard to imagine. We're looking back in time.
Pretty nice seeing the cloud. Yeah, that's giving a nice little. It looks like the corona is rippling as the clouds are moving over it.
Yep.
Oh, they clicked back out.
He's putting the filter back on.
The filter went back on because that was the totality there. So I think a lot of readjustment here. There we go. Moving it around. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Stop there.
It's been such an exciting day. And so we've still got those of you who are on the path of totality, even though our coverage, that was the last area of our coverage cameras. Remember, this is still going to proceed. So if you're watching for the eclipse and you live in the northern climes, it's still got to go through Maine and some areas. It goes off the continental United States and continues all the way up into New Brunswick and the far reaches of Canada before it slips off into the ocean. So there is significant amounts of time for those of you who live in those areas to enjoy the eclipse the way everybody else has along here. Alex, what are your final thoughts as we've gone through here? What was your experience like?
I just think that it's an incredible experience, and there's millions and millions of people that just stopped and did this for a while. There's a couple hundred that came and hung out with us, and I think that it is an amazing. It was just an amazing experience to see. It's different in every location, and I think part of the excitement is that you don't know if it's going to work. Like you don't know if it's going to. Like we don't know if this is actually going to. If you're. If you're actually going to be able to see it, and I think that's part of what makes it so exciting when you actually do see it. We had when we were doing it in Bend, Oregon, there was a huge fire, and so everything was orange and covered up the day before, and then the day of it was fine. But it was
really the particulates all blew out, and you were able to see it.
Enough.
Yeah,
we didn't see it all. And so
nice.
So we were really fortunate. There it is, spinning.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Back to the balloon cam.
You can see you can just see the shadow there. Coming around. Right.
Come on. Wait. Where is it?
Oh. Here he comes.
Yeah. It was such a good idea. I just think it's funny. Again, it's funny because I turned down a job like this before because I was like, it'll spin. Like I don't know how to stop it from spinning.
It's windy up there in the
I was very worried
atmosphere.
about the spin. I'm sure that it could have been handled, but I was so worried about the spin.
Yeah. Every
That's
so
nice.
often, it just as
You
it
get to
looks
see a
like
little
it's
bit of
getting
it.
there, it just rises up just a little bit.
So Matt, you're going to be you're looking in the future as well as the present, and so I know there are more eclipses of various types coming up. What's your next stop in this adventure? What's coming up next for people who are interested in eclipses, and where might they be able to book some areas if they want to see this? I know Alex was talking about one of the ones that he wants to see, but for you, what's next?
Yeah, well, so definitely it's going to be 2028 for me. Unfortunately, the mortgage of the house, you've got to be an adult, and it's better paying off your own house than
You
paying
know,
someone else's.
you have 2
Uh,
kidneys. I just want to make sure you always remember that. You got 2
yeah,
kidneys.
yeah, yeah.
Spare.
But like there is going to be there's going to be an annular solar eclipse in the 2nd of October. So that's going to be just on the tip of Chile and Argentina. Um, and there's going to be a total lunar eclipse in March 13th, 14th, 2025 next year. That's going to be you'll be able to see that in the whole of the United States, South America. Uh, the This seems to be against Western Australia because basically it finishes at the borderline of Western Australia. So like if there's a rivalry between Western Australia and the other states. So, but I think the next one for us is a total lunar eclipse, and I think that's in like September 20, 2025. 24 is actually pretty boring for events. This astronomical events for at least for Western Australia at least. So yeah. But
And Alex, you were
I
planning on
know
doing
what
so.
I'm.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to Greenland.
So yeah,
You're
so
going
I
to
know.
Greenland. Everybody
Yeah, yeah,
says Greenland and Iceland and those areas up there are just gorgeous for photography. I know a lot of my friends who are serious photographers have said it's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. So, are you thinking
I'm going to
you get
Western
some?
Greenland. That's my big plan. We'll find out. I could be wrong. I'll get up there and I'll be like, "There's no way we can survive," but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And there's no cities. There's no nothing there. So it's really like wandering out into the tundra. And I'm pretty excited about the whole idea. But I'm going to start prepping for it, and then I'm looking at Egypt for 2027. And so I think it's supposed to go right over Luxor of all things. I'm not going to try to go right there because everyone
Ooh.
will think that's a good idea. And then Australia, I think, is next. I think those are the next 3. They're about a year apart each. So
yeah.
so
So if you were going to go to Australia for the 2028 one, you would probably want to like Sydney's the dead giveaway. Yeah, look, go there, but you're going to run into what basically Texas did, with cloud. You could go to either Darwin which is the Northern Territory, and then drive to Kununurra, or just fly to Perth and then do a lot of sightseeing on the way up there to Kununurra. But
how far is
I
it
know what I'll be
from
doing.
Perth to Carrington?
Yeah, so that's a decent trip. That's at least a couple of days drive.
That sounds great. And go on the coast? Is that you're?
Yeah. There's plenty of
That
beaches
sounds like a
there.
party. I mean, that sounds like a
The
great
cool
time.
thing is
What
that
time of the year will you be there?
so it will be the dry season up there. So should have good weather, and also that's the time you want to be up there because it's not stinking hot. Like there are some days up there during summer where you go question whether you're on Venus. If you're even still on Earth, it could be Venus that you're on. It's that hot. So a lot of the people up there, if you get a British person, they'll go, "Is it hot enough for you?" Because they've never experienced that hot heat. And there's also again the rivalry between Australians and British people as well. So just like the Brits and Americans as well. So something about the colonies.
Yeah, exactly.
But
We have one more question that's leaking in here. Peter Belbin asks, "What scientific theories have been confirmed by observation of eclipse events on Earth?"
Yeah, so definitely the big one was the confirming of Einstein's theory of general relativity and also special relativity. So the fact that space and time are one thing, and they can actually be warped by a body with mass. So our sun, a black hole, its actual gravity warps space, and that's what gives you that gravity. And so also the the element helium was discovered by studying the corona of the sun during a total solar eclipse. So
Hmm.
it's one of the things here we don't, you know, helium's that gas. If you ingest it a little bit, you get a really squeaky voice.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
They get
that
to the
here
sun,
on
and
Earth.
only
It's
2.5
but
times the size you see
the
here.
sun is a
So yeah,
massive
but
nuclear,
no images of it, but
basically a nuclear reactor. It's
operating
instead of
easily without remote.
instead of breaking apart atoms, it's actually fusing hydrogen into helium, and its date of death was basically designed at the start of when it formed. It's had 4.5 billion years, and it's got another 4.5 billion years to go, which is good for us.
Good for us.
We're
Like
not
we
in
don't have
any
to worry about.
jeopardy
You're
here.
saying we're going to be okay. We're not going to.
Yeah.
We
Like
got
you
some
wouldn't want to
time.
be here in about a billion years. It's going to get a little bit toasty.
Oh, we only have a
Uh,
billion. I see. You said 4.5, but you cut it back. I see how it's sliding against us now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so the really big stars, the ones if you put them in our solar system, replace the sun with them, and they gobble up Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, like even Jupiter. Those stars only last 100 million years or so, or even less, like tens of millions of years, because they just go. They're like a Hummer. Their fuel economy is just horrendous. Uh,
Short timers.
but
It's so big.
yeah. But the little red dwarfs, they're very economical. Like they're like in Nissan Micros or something like that. Like there hasn't been enough time. They haven't even got one through 1/5 of of the expected life of a red dwarf, the very first red dwarf.
Right.
So, but again, you still don't really want to be around those red dwarfs because they're quite flary. So you can have your atmosphere stripped away quite easily. Like they have sunspots that can be like 40 times, there's a 40% of the star. So yeah, that's why you don't want a small star. You don't want to be around a small star because it means your Goldilocks zone is a lot closer, which means you can actually get tidally locked. So one side of the planet always sees the star, um,
How come I lost?
and yeah, you don't want to. There's just not enough time for life to develop around really big stars. So yeah.
We've handled all the questions that have come in. This has been such an exciting day. Thank you all for being a part of it for us. We're going to kind of start to wrap things up here. We started back at 11 a.m. and we started as the eclipse came off the coast to Mexico and across the U.S. It was interesting in the past, so I looked at it and to see what was the final end of things. And I was surprised to find that the last place on land you can see the eclipse pass over you is a place called Elliston, which is a little incorporated fishing settlement on the Bonavista Peninsula in Newfoundland, Canada. So those will be the last civilized people who have a little community there. And so I was reading up a little bit about it, and I thought it's a really cute place. It looks like it'd be fun. And maybe this, you were talking about the bucket list of where to go see eclipses. There will not be an eclipse this time, but I did see that there was a little Roots, Rants, and Roars festival filled with Elliston's music and food. And I'm thinking maybe I'm going to add this to my bucket list because it has a thing called Cod Wars. And Cod Wars in Elliston is where they come up with creative dishes featuring cod. And so I'm thinking, maybe that's a definite maybe for me. There's so many people to thank for making this program possible. You will see the credits roll at the end of this. I'm going to absolutely say a huge thank you to Matt Woods for being our expert today from the Perth Observatory. Matt, thank you. We could not have enjoyed this anywhere near as much without your contributions. And of course, everybody on the team, you'll see their names rock by, and Alex Lindsay, our jefe here at Office Hours, who has helped create this medium for passing along information on the web to you. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage through it, and unless anybody else has anything to say, I think we're going to wrap it up and roll
There
credits.
was supposed to be an estimated 31.6 million people will be in the path of totality for this, and then there's another
Wow.
150 million within 200 miles of it. Like my sister's friend saw my TEDx talk about experiencing a total solar eclipse and decided yesterday that he was going to take the day off work and take his kid into the path of totality. So yeah, there's even a lot of last minute ones. Did you guys see? There's an image done by Airbnb of the image of all the occupancy rates of
Yeah,
their
it's like it's all
Airbnbs
like empty everywhere or
on
very
the
low, and then it's like all red. Just one,
Big,
one
Yeah.
big red.
the entire it's you could put that overlay over the path of the eclipse, and that overlay of 100% is almost perfectly the path. Yeah.
Well, we're all glad we're able to be here for this day. These do not happen all the time. I mean, yes, there are eclipses around the world, but a total eclipse of the sun crossing many of these hugely populated areas of the United States where millions upon millions of people get to experience them is not a regular occurrence. So thank you all for joining us for it today. And as I understand, we're going to sign off and say thank you. We'll see you on regular office hours every morning, 1,400 and some odd days. We've done this every single day. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. See you then. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. It was fun.